What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Nintendo is almost out of the woods when it comes to their games leaking out ahead of release. We do have one more big one coming up, and now there's confusion going around online. If it actually has leaked out online, what's happening there? Well, we're going to go over exactly what's going on here today. Also, we are going to be talking about Sony, as it seems that they are prepping for a pretty big update for the PlayStation 5, and we have a few stories around layoffs. Go figure. It seems almost commonplace now when it comes to gaming, but also just the tech industry. Well, one story, people are kind of unsure as to what it means, and the other one, people are excited for it, but we'll take a look at all of that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton, and if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below, and of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you would like to learn more about that, click the join button or link in the description down below, and we're going to start today with Xbox Game Pass games for the month of April. We can head over here, we can see. This is over on news.xbox.com, starting on April 8th today. We have Days or DayZ going into Game Pass on PC, along with Endless Legend 2, that's game preview on PC. FBC Firebreak, Cloud, Xbox Series X, and PC, that's going to be joining the Game Pass Premium. We then move up to April 9th with Planet Coaster 2, Cloud, Xbox Series X, S, and PC. Moving up to April 10th, we have Tiny Bookshop. April 13th, Football Manager 26 on PC, Football Manager 26 console on Cloud, console, and PC. And then moving to April 14th, Hades 2, great game, Cloud, Xbox Series X, S, handheld, and PC. And then we also have Replace, which is a game that I am very much looking forward to checking out next week when it drops. That, of course, Cloud, Xbox Series X, and PC. We also have the Thaumaturge, that's Cloud, Xbox Series X, S, and PC. April 16th, we have Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remastered, that's going to Xbox Game Pass Premium. EA Sports NHL 26, that's Cloud and Xbox Series X and S. April 17th, Call of Duty Modern Warfare. April 21st, Little Rocket Lab. April 21st as well, Sopa, The Tale of Stolen Potato, and Vampire Crawlers. That's a big one too, because that's a day one release, of course, from the creators of Vampire Survivors. April 23rd, we have Kiln, the multiplayer game, where you create pots and battle it out in an arena. So overall, not a bad month here that they're laying out for April. Even having Call of Duty, a Call of Duty game going in, seems like a big deal. But for me, I'm looking directly at Replace dropping next week. Also, Sony made an odd announcement that people were looking at, kind of unsure as to what exactly was going on there, and that's for something called the player base. This we can see over on PlayStation Blog, where they introduce it as a unique opportunity for PlayStation's biggest fans to step into some of the biggest game worlds by having their likeness scanned and appear within a PlayStation game. The player base will start with Gran Turismo 7 and will be looking to expand and include fans in additional PlayStation Studios titles in the near future. Now, throughout this post, they do discuss what seems to be like a series of, I guess, just a selection process where they'll go through people who are the biggest Gran Turismo or PlayStation fans, and it looks like they have a screening process, the whole thing, and then eventually one person will be picked, and they will be a portrait Gran Turismo 7. There you go. I think at this point, maybe you could see where a bunch of people are chosen for different things. Maybe there's like a zombie game, there's a horde of zombies, and you can have your likeness in there. There's still a lot of questions around how exactly that works when it comes to the rights around your likeness in a game, but I kind of view this as almost a sweepstakes thing now, and maybe it'll evolve further in the future, and why not? You can throw AI in there, and then they can train us on portraits and Gran Turismo with our faces. Oh, and that Cyberpunk 2077 update for the PlayStation 5 Pro is live today, and there's an entire post going over this, but I was looking for the modes that they were going to talk about, and they do indeed have what I was really looking forward to. It's the idea of a quality PlayStation 5 ray tracing base mode, that like quality that would run at 30, but now running at 60 FPS. That is indeed part of this. And on top of that, they will have like a more quality driven mode that will hit 40 FPS on the correct VRR enabled display, and then a 90 FPS mode. So this is pretty cool just for the PS5 Pro outright, since that's what I was hoping to see. Quality mode, but at 60 FPS, but also improved ray tracing, and everything just looked a lot cleaner in some of the comparison shots. So if you have a PS5 Pro, yeah, that update will be live today to check out. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with the potential that Nintendo's next big game has leaked out online, and it shouldn't shock anyone if that's the case, because a Switch 1 game, and it was obvious that would happen. It happened every single time just about, where a game might break street date, and because it is very easy now to hack certain Switch systems and then dump the cartridge and then upload it online, what ends up being a fairly small file size. So Tomodachi Life Living the Dream is what's being discussed now, and that game is less than 7 gigabytes. So you kind of see it. We're not dealing with 50, 60, 70 gigabyte games like you might on the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series. These are much smaller titles for the Switch 1 in terms of like the file size. But Tomodachi Life Living the Dream, even though it's not a game that's necessarily geared towards me and I'm not really picking on playing it, I do recognize the fact that it is a game that is probably going to do very, very well on the Switch 1 and then also Switch 2 install size, but also the fact that it sold pretty well on the 3DS way back in the day, and it does feel like on the Switch in general with Animal Crossing and we see Kopi and stuff, it's kind of the life sim style games do very, very well with this audience. So I think this is a 10 million plus seller just outright before it's all said and done. So naturally, Nintendo, not thrilled with the idea of these things leaking out early. And so this image was shared online, and this got people really talking about this, shared over on Tomodachi Life updates with, you can see almost just a shopping cart. It looks like, I guess, it'd be Target, I think, like the red shopping carts, with a bunch of copies of Tomodachi Life in there, early copies with a question mark being asked here. And then this quickly snowballed into the idea that it has broken street date, and that maybe somebody did upload it online. So Go Nintendo covered it. My Nintendo News also had headlines for it, with the rumor Tomodachi Life Living the Dream may have leaked online. And so I decided, you know what, I will see if I can confirm this myself, because I do know, again, there's a lot of people looking forward to this. I don't really know what's like spoiler territory for this game, because it's kind of it's almost a choose your own adventure style thing. Like, you're going to play the game and you're going to create your own characters and you have your own town, and it's all going to sort of go or follow a path that you set out for it. But I guess there could be discoveries in the game that are shared by many people out there, and it's like, oh, okay, that does happen in this game. Would have been nice to discover it for myself. So I went out looking. I'm like, let's see if we can find this game and if it is online. And what I noticed, a lot of people want to share links for this game, but none of them go to the game. And then that makes me realize, okay, it could be in a position right now where so many people are indeed looking for the game leaking out early. You have bad actors trying to take advantage of that. So to my understanding, the game, it's at least right now not being publicly distributed. And the thing that people are getting crossed up with on this is that there is a dump of the demo or the early access build that they had, like the welcome package that they put out there. That's like 1 gigabyte in size. And that is what's floating around online and people are actually linking to. I don't doubt that Tomodachi Life will probably leak out before the release, but at the time of this recording, from what I can tell, I'm not actually seeing it online. Still though, I would be kind of careful as you get closer and closer to release date, because I'm sure people will find a way to get this thing out there early. They'll download it, they'll play it on emulators, and if there is anything to spoil, based on social media, they'll take the best shot. Next up, let's talk about a big update that Sony appears to be testing out and then prepping for just full-on distribution to current PS5 owners, and that's for the dashboard. And Sony's already done some stuff with the dashboard, introducing things like the more robust welcome menu and tab and a few other things. Ryan goes over it all the time. Any little change and stuff, he's on it, and he'll walk you through it, do the whole tour. And I think he's gonna get a kick out of this one when it does eventually released to the public, because right now seems to be in like the firmware beta channel or test. And well, people decided to just post some images of it. And I gotta say, I like what I'm seeing here right now. So like, you can take a look here, and this is an image that was shared. It was over on Reddit, and people online did actually show up and back this up with their own images. So there are multiple people right now, of course, in that firmware testing program that are trying this out. And the biggest thing here is, if you notice at the top, for the most part, the dashboard, I'd say like 75% of it looks basically kind of the same, right? But then at the top, you'll notice a row of icons. And what we're seeing here are things like that PlayStation Store tab, the PlayStation Plus tab, being moved up to the top instead of just having games and media. Now, it does look like games and media would still be there, as they are, I think, represented by those different symbols to the right of that. However, This is interesting because with games and media, you use R1 and L1 to cycle between the two of them. And in fact, at the top here, you have R1 and L1 on either side, seemingly doing the same thing. And so I like this clearing up the idea of, oh yeah, like if you look at the dashboard for PlayStation 5, it is kind of weird to have the store and PlayStation Plus as icons right next to your games. That's kind of how I look at any of the icons here on the screen are games, or I guess you could say some applications. But for the most part, I like that it is separated here to where you can navigate that entire bar separate from your main games that are here and able to be jumped to immediately. So L1 and R1 will cycle you through your PlayStation Plus store, your game library there, your media. This, I think, is awesome. Now, it's hard to say when exactly this is going to be pushed out. Typically, when it goes into the beta testing phase like this, to where they're opening up to the firmware testers that channel, usually a month or two later. So if you're in this beta firmware test group, let me know down in the comments what you think of this so far, because clearly Sony is gathering feedback just to see how exactly it works out when you have a bunch of people who aren't necessarily internal at Sony developing this. They need fresh eyes on it. So let me know if it operates as good as it looks right now, just again, from seeing these screenshots, because this to me looks much more streamlined than what we have right now. Next up, let's talk about some layoffs. We're gonna start here with Sony Pictures first though, and we can see, this is over on Variety who confirmed this story, saying sources tell Variety that the layoffs, which are expected to result in a few hundred eliminations out of 12,000 employees that work for the organization globally, are now underway and expected to continue into the coming months. Among the notable changes at the leadership level for Sony Pictures Entertainment is the exit of Colin Davis, EVP of Comedy Development, Variety has confirmed. Those close to the decision-making process say the cuts are not a cost-driven exercise, but a targeted and strategic choice for growth in several key areas. That includes franchise strategy and brand extension, including game shows, anime experiences, next-gen content, platform-native content and utilization of YouTube, and Sony Group ecosystem connectivity, including video game adaptations, which is very important for Sony right now. PlayStation is like their biggest division. It drives the most revenue right now for them. So being able to then translate that over into something like, for Sony Pictures, a God of War series or something that they can have for Amazon or whoever. Very, very important, almost crucial, you could say, for the video game market kind of to make sense for them with how big those budgets are getting. So with layoffs like these, so there's always question around, are these layoffs resulting from AI filling those spots? This kind of feels like Sony is looking around going, okay, we need different people. And this would be looked at, as they are saying, not necessarily a cost cutting measure, but as more of a lateral move of, okay, we're not going in this direction, but we're still doing things like video game adaptations and working in other forms with anime and stuff. We just want different leadership almost. It's still layoffs, and it's still hard to say how exactly this is going to be shifted around in terms of resources. Seems that these hundreds of layoffs, again, of 12,000 or so, will be done over the next several months. So to me, this one looks like, okay, we're going to change things up here, but still continue down this path. We still need more confirmation, and Variety just kind of broke this story yesterday, so this being an ongoing thing, I guess we'll see as we go along. But I do think Sony, especially now, is really focusing in on their multimedia side, anime being a big one, as we know with things like Crunchyroll, but certainly when it comes to video game adaptations and building out and strengthening intellectual properties that for the most part have attempted it, but never really broken through until I'd say the last few years now. And that's something I think Sony wants to really continue on, so they can keep making money off of video game budget projects that are getting into the hundreds of millions of dollars. And in our last bit of news, we'll go to the other layoff story. This one, though, seemed to get more of a positive reaction online because it does have to do with AI. But instead of AI replacing people's jobs, this seems to be people losing jobs because maybe Take-Two isn't that interested in AI. It's kind of a hard read with them, but we can see this. This is over on gamesindustry.biz saying the company's former head of AI, Luke Dickens, shared on LinkedIn that his time with the parent company of Rockstar and Zynga had ended. We've been developing cutting-edge technology to support game development now for 7 years. These folks know how to match innovation and novel problem-solving approaches with strong product design shops to create systems that empower people throughout the development workflow. We have former Senior Director of AI Development Jason Leon added over the past 6 years, first leading Zynga's Game Services division in Central Tech, then spending the last 2 years building out the AI team at Take-Two. We pushed the edge of what's possible, applying emerging technologies to real game development problems. That chapter has come to a close as shifting priorities from upper management have impacted my team and me. So the big story that was running because of this is that Take-Two is like completely laid off their entire AI division, and they're moving away from AI. My only thing with that is Strauss Zelnick, while he does seem somewhat skeptical of the idea that AI would just be able to develop a Grand Theft Auto, like, oh yeah, AI can come in and develop Grand Theft Auto 7. He does not seem bought into that notion. He's thinking of AI, from what he said, as more of a tool set as opposed to generative AI being the big driving force behind a game's development. Still, while he has been kind of wishy-washy on it, recently he's talked about how internally they are doing a lot of developments around generative AI and studying and researching it. So I almost wonder if that falls more in line with, hey, let's say things that sound good to the investors, but actually we need a lot of people, like actual people, humans, to work on these games when you have what sounds like a budget of more than $2 billion. There have been talks about GTA 6 costing $3 billion, which is absurd, but that's just the level they're on right now. When you have a franchise like Grand Theft Auto where 5 sold, 200 million copies plus, you can take the time to invest a lot of money when it might end up being a 15, 20-year game even. Who knows how long GTA 6 is going to last with 5, which I think ended up being somewhat of a surprise for them and how long it's gone on. They're planning for 6 to be around for a while. So you have the single player, and then you have the multiplayer side. Yeah, they're dumping a ton of money into this thing. So with that in mind, it's got to hit. And I just don't think at this point they're ready to go, oh yeah, okay, AI can take the wheel and run 50% of the company. They're going to keep looking into it, but I think for now they're like full speed ahead on Grand Theft Auto 6 and the more human side of development. But who knows what happens in the future? In a few years, things could change and Skynet could take over. But at least for now, it seems that actual humans will be making Grand Theft Auto. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, have you played Cyberpunk 2077? 59% say yes, 41% say no. Okay, so there's still a large number of people who have not played the game yet. And I think at first when it came out, people did, I'm sure, pick it up and go, okay, let's see what we have here. And they realized they have an Xbox One, and people looked like mashed potatoes on the screen. It did not run well. So I feel like there are people who checked it out initially at launch, put it down, and maybe they come back to it now, which if that's the case, the game is just significantly better now. But there's also people, of course, coming into gaming or maybe graduating up to a system of their own, and they're looking around at some of the different games they could pick up. So I think Cyberpunk is going to be one of those games that just runs on for a long, long time. And clearly, when it comes to the tech side, it seems to be many people who run benchmarks or reviews and stuff for hardware. That seems one of their favorite games to go to still, years and years later. So with that in mind, yeah, it's going to be a game that people maybe find as we go along. And I wouldn't be shocked if this poll, while it still stayed 50-50 further into the future, had more people than not saying that they've at least played Cyberpunk at least once, maybe even gone all the way through it. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Jared, who says, some of these tech companies are going to be sitting on a lot of product if they keep raising prices. I didn't know they were in the storage business. So, that's just how it works with business. Eventually, when it comes to pricing, you'll get to a point where people just aren't buying. They're like, this is too much. And then what's the reaction? Typically, we're going to lower the price on that product or discontinue the product if there's no way to do so. But I think with some of these console manufacturers, the name of the game when it comes to selling a PlayStation or Nintendo with their hardware is volume. Like they have to build up a large install size for any of it to make sense. PlayStation more, I'd say, even than Nintendo, because PlayStation heavily relies on third-party royalties, which means they need a lot of people buying all kinds of games through their storefront so they can profit the 30%. So with Nintendo, they sell a lot of first-party stuff, and they do so very, very well. But even they have to look around and go, okay, we did 150 plus million, 150 million plus Switch 1 systems, we'd like to have at least 100 million Switch 2 systems out there at some point. So that's one of the reasons that Nintendo, I'm sure, is trying to figure out ways not to raise the price of the Switch 2. And for Sony, they already have a fairly large base on the PlayStation 5. Them thinking about PlayStation 6 will be more along the lines of, how do we get a system out there that isn't $800 starting? They gotta figure out a way, I think, to at least the $500 mark, and that might be a cut down version of the PS6 in order to make all the puzzle pieces fit. And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you wanted to hear more about how prices are going up for everything, and recently with the PC gaming handheld side has gotten absolutely out of control. I did a video checking that out, and I'll leave right below. Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.